Yo, it's level 7, and let's talk Arizona Cardinals. More specifically, let's talk NFC West. There's been a lot of talk this offseason in the division about who's real and who's not. So I'm here to set the record straight. And let me just tell you this, NFC West fans.
There's no way out of this one. You're done.
First, I'm going to rank position group based on the starters, so the top guys at every position. For the QBs, it'll be the QB1. For the running backs, it'll be the running back 1. For the wide receiver, it'll be the wide receiver 1, and so on and so forth until you get to the O-line, where I'm going to rank the entire group. And then after every initial ranking, there will be a depth ranking, because in the NFL, players get injured. That's a part of the game. It's not a regular just tier ranking system. You know, I'm going to really go into depth with this. And after the very end, you know, I'm going to count the depth. I'm going to count in the starters. And then there will be a final positional ranking because depth matters more at certain positions than others. Without further ado, you know, let's get right into the rankings. At number 1 in the 2025 NFC West offensive ranking video, level 7 selects QB Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford once again proved to be the best QB in the division. Now, by no means necessary was that Matthew Stafford's best year, but when it counted the most, he was lights out, going for 15 TDs and 1 INT through week 10, up until the Rams' ultimate demise in the playoffs, thank God. Now, he didn't start off the season elite, but he definitely finished the season that way. So at number 1, we got the old man, Matthew Stafford. You know, he's proved it. He's won the Super Bowl. He's done things in this division that no other QB has done. He belongs in that spot. Now, here's where I start to shake things up a little bit. At number 2 in the division, I have the greatest QB under 6 foot of all time, and his name is Kyler Cole Murray. And I would just preface this because I know there's going to be a lot of 49ers fans in my comment section annoyed as hell. I'm just going to tell you off the rip. Brock Purdy is not better than Kyler Murray. He just isn't. It's facts. And you know, Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray are actually very similar QBs, like both undersized QBs that play for red teams with yellowish uniforms. You know, 49ers are gold, right? But here's where they're different, and I don't see a lot of people take this into account when they try to compare Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray. The year before the 49ers drafted Brock Purdy, they were in the NFC Championship game. The year before the Cardinals drafted Kyler Murray, they were the worst team in the league. So they were essentially drafted into polar opposite situations. One was drafted into a situation where he was surrounded by the most talented roster in the league, and the other was drafted into the worst possible situation / organization at the time you could have been drafted to. Okay, now with that being said, Kyler Murray is now stepping into year 2, his first time under an actual stable regime and under a good head coach and a good general manager that actually knows how to build a team from the ground up and not just apply band-aids to shotgun wounds. In 2025, Kyler Murray will take the next step. And that's not to say that in 2024 that he wasn't already better than Brock Purdy, because he was. Last year he finished with 3,800 passing yards and nearly 600 rushing yards with 26 total TDs and 11 INTs. But even though Kyler's stats were better last year, that doesn't even fully explain why he's better. The average 49ers fan argument to why Brock Purdy is better than Kyler Murray is that Brock has made it to an NFC Championship game. What has Kyler won? Brock has the highest passer rating in the league. Oh, Kyler's passer rating. What is Kyler's passer rating? You know what my response to that is? I don't give a fuck. Like genuinely, like not a singular one, because none of those statistics can determine what makes a good QB. People swear that Kyler does not have the intangibles to lead the team to a playoffs, and I'm just saying, well, just wait and see. I've said this before. Kyler's rushing ability paired with his passing ability is one of one, and with the mature Kyler Murray under the center this year, I genuinely believe that this is the year that he takes off. And it's not just him, right? Because now he has a mature cast of characters around him. And I'm telling you, I know I've been saying this. The sky is the limit for Kyler Murray. I know it's year 7. Like, when is he going to reach that potential? But this guy still has not hit his ceiling. His flashes are MVP flashes. He just has to put it together for an entire year. And that's largely due to a fact that his offensive coordinator is still figuring out too. He has a young offensive coordinator. I was really hard on him last year, but I think that his offensive coordinator takes that next step next year, and that actually is going to catapult him into a different realm. Because if he gets consistent and Kyler's playing consistent and he doesn't have to carry the team and put the team on his back to win every single game, which Brock never had to do until last year, and then we saw what happened with Brock last year when he had to carry the team and put the team on his back. What was his record? Exactly. So at 3, I actually think this is closer than most people might want to believe. I will rate this as actual a 3A, 3B situation between Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. Now, I know it seems super fucking disrespectful because Brock has a lot of accomplishments, but I feel like these two QBs are similar in the way that their ceilings are the same, but they reach those ceilings in 2 different ways. For Brock, is processing and ball delivery at the right place and the right time. He's a system QB. He plays within the system, and that system ceiling only gets him so far. And for Sam, it's the high-end arm talent that he'll show off every once in a while, or like he did consistently last season. Like he played lights out. I say this because, like, if the Seahawks get the Sam Darnold that the Vikings got last year, then he could easily end up being the 2nd or 3rd best QB in this division, depending on how Kyler and Stafford play. Maybe he could end up being the 1st. Like, that wouldn't be crazy. But for now, I'm going with Purdy at 3 and Darnold at 4. But I really think those, like, that's a toss-up, even though they just paid Purdy. Honestly, like, I always like Sam Darnold though, so I'm a little biased, I guess. And the depth rankings are easy. Mac Jones is Brock Purdy with no mobility, so essentially he tries to do too much sometimes, and that can cost his team's game. So I got the 49ers at number 1 in terms of the depth rankings. Then you got Jacoby Brissett, who I think is one of the best backup QBs in the league. Put him in a stable situation, and he can actually help you not lose games, but he'll do some things that'll actually help you win a couple if needed. Jimmy G is Jimmy G. He's gonna come in and run that system to the best of his ability, but he's not gonna do anything more than that. And Jalen Murrow is a wild card, because he can change the entire landscape of the QB outlook in the NFC West in a couple years, depending on how he develops. But I would rate him solid as a solid gadget QB, or, a 4th backup QB option. In terms of in this division, these guys are all vets. I don't think he'll come in and play better than any of them, but his ceiling is so high that maybe he could. And for the final ranking for the QBs, is not going to change. If our starters get hurt for a elongated period of time, most likely, other than the Niners would probably stay relatively the same, but the team would drop off a decent bit. On to the running backs, and this is where I have to add a stipulation, because currently CMC has a red arrow pointing down next to his name. He is dealing with injuries, but if he is 100%, he is by far probably the best running back in this division. But due to that uncertainty, and due to the fact that these rankings, remember, I don't know if I said this at the beginning, they are a projection / a reflection of the 2024 season. So there's a projection for 2025 / a reflection for 2024. So based off of what I think is going to happen next year and what happened last year. Okay, and at 1, we have James Conner. Now this easily could have been Kyron Williams, but I gave it to James based on one thing and one thing only, and that's stats. I'm not even a stat guy, but it's so close. It's 1A, 1B that Connor just having 200 more yards than Kyron just gives him the edge to me. You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm gonna give it to Kyrie. I'm switching it up. He averaged about 81 rushing yards per game last season, and that's 20 more yards than Connor's rushed for, like averaged per game. And you know what? I'm gonna just give it to him. Like it doesn't matter. It's 1 or 2. You know, I said based on stats. You know, I was looking at the stats while I was going over this, and you know what? I'm gonna give it to Kyrie. So at 2, we got my guy James Conner for reasons already explained. Just a dog, hard-nosed runner, fight for extra yards. Is aging absolutely gracefully. It's like third 1K season in a row. He doesn't get injured. Same thing with Kyron. Kyron, obviously, he got injured, but he somehow got injured 2 years ago or a year ago and still finished with 1K. And at number 3, I'm going to put Christian McCaffrey. Now, there's an asterisk next to this because once again, if McCaffrey plays and he's healthy, he's probably going to be the best running back in the division. But due to the type of injury that he's dealing with, I can't if, in terms of this being a projection, I can't put him ahead of the 2 guys that are in front of him. Like this, I'm not putting him last just to show him respect, but I'm gonna put him 3rd just based on what I believe is gonna happen in the 2025 season. If I look dumb for this, I look dumb. I don't really care. So at 4th, we have Kenneth Walker. And every year I hear about Kenneth Walker, how he's supposed to be the best back in the division. But it seems like every year he just underperforms and he gets injured. This is not me saying he's like a bad back. But at this point, I'm just going to have to see it to believe it. He seems like a guy that will go out and get 900 yards or 700 yards. But just based off of production and what I think is going to happen 2025, I think at best he's probably going to be the third best running back in the division. And you know, he's actually really good. It's just like he's in a division filled with other top 10 running backs. You know, I know people don't look at James Conner that way, but if you're smart and you know ball, you know James Conner is like that. Kyron Williams is also like that. And for the depth, I'm actually going to go Seahawks 1 when it comes to Charbonnet, Martinez, McIntosh. These are all guys that could probably start on most teams in the league, in my opinion. The only thing about that group is that they don't have anybody that has like a top 15 running back potential. At number 2, I'm going the Cardinals with Trey Benson, Amari DeMarcado, and DJ Dallas. The reason why I put the Cardinals at 2 is because I believe that Trey has that top 15 back potential. I look at him as just a faster version of James Conner, and he flashed multiple times next season, so I do expect him to take that step up this year. So I would not be surprised if that happens. But beyond that, Amari DeMarcado, even though I wanted us to draft a running back last year, he's a really solid third down back, and he has third down, he has home run potential. And he's a very good run blocker. And DJ Dallas is a great special teamer. He returned the first kickoff return for that new format last year. At 3, we got the Niners, right? I like Blake Corum, but it's not enough, in my opinion, in terms of depth. Like the entire group of the Niners running back, I believe is better than the Rams depth. And to be honest, if Kyle Shanahan taps back into his old ways, Marindo, Jordan James, Israel Abanikanda, those are 3 solid home run hitting backs. Like they have the potential to hit home runs, and if they're used correctly, they may be able, if CMC isn't able to play at his 100% full capacity, they may be able to replicate his production. And at 4, I got the Rams. And that's just because behind Corum, I really like Corum. I thought Corum was one of the best backs in the drafts last year. But behind him are 2 guys that got cut off of other teams in the division. Like, if Kyron goes down, I think the Rams will probably have to go to free agency to find Corum a backup because their depth is shockingly pitiful. They have Cody Schrader and Ronnie Rivers. Like, those guys are, like, I'm not trying to hate on them, but you don't really want them to see the field, to be honest. Now, the final rankings, I'm going to put the Cardinals first because I do think that this year in 2025, James Conner and Trey Benson are set to be more of a 1-2 punch in the future. I think that they could easily combine for over 2,500 yards this last season. Like I told you about Trey Benson, he's only improving in year 2. He was getting used to it, and I think he takes a big leap next year. Like a lot of people thought he was going to come over and just take over immediately for James Conner, but I think this is the year where, you know, James Conner starts to chill out a little bit, but I think his production still stays up high because he'll be fresh. But at 2, we have Kyren and Corum. Like, bro, they're going to be a very good 1-2 punch. It's essentially the same thing as James Conner and Trey Benson. Like, Kyren and Corum are like they play very similarly, but in terms of Corum, I just think that Benson's ceiling is higher. But if you put the Rams at 1 here, I wouldn't be mad at it. And at 3, we got the Seahawks. You know, you got 4 running backs that I believe that can start, but none of them have that 1K rushing yard potential. But in my opinion, they can all contribute in different ways and really elevate that Seahawks running game this season. And at 4, we got the Niners. Due to the uncertainty of Christian McCaffrey, and also due to the fact that even though I like their depth a lot, those guys are completely unproven. I know y'all watching this, and a lot of y'all mad right now. I need y'all to drop a comment, and let me know what y'all thinking. Let me know what y'all thinking. If you hate it, if you love it, if you're indifferent towards it, whatever, just drop a comment. Let me know. Now we're on to the wide receivers. I don't know why I said it like that. And at number 1, we got the man, Puka Nacua. Not much has to be said. He's been playing at an elite top 10 receiving level since he's entered the league. The only thing that he can be faulted on is the fact that he's kind of injury prone. Now, I'm not going to try to talk too much about that because we all know Puka Nacua is the best wide receiver in the division. But I want you to remember, I'm going to say this before I say something that I would consider a hot take. I want you to remember that this is a projection and not completely based off the 2024 stats, because if it was, this would be completely different. At number 2, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I know 200 Seahawks fans just left dislikes on this video, clicked off the video, and that's fine. They probably already clicked off because they've been like 4th like the entire time. Look at this. If you would have told me last year that JSN would have had more yards than Puka Nacua, I would have looked at you stupid. But he did. JSN had the most receiving yards in the division for a wide receiver. And to be honest, frankly, Marv is just a better prospect than JSN. And I know we're not talking about prospects here in the NFL now. JSN went from 600 yards in his first year to 800 yards. They could both come from the same college. I just think that it makes sense that Marv is also going to take that year 2 leap. Like I just think he's a better player. Like, I don't think anybody on the Seahawks or a Seahawks fan genuinely thought that JSN was a better prospect than Marv coming off. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. If this list was based on 2024, I'll say that again, it'll be completely different. At 3 is JSN though. At 3 is JSN. He's showing he could be a great receiver in this league. Now it's time for him to show that he can do it again. This time he doesn't have DK Metcalf. But his 2024 was a great season. Nothing to scoff at. 100 receptions, 1,100 yards. He's shown that he can produce. But I want to see him do it again. But this time as the number 1 receiver. And at 4, we have Brandon Ayuk. This is another name with the asterisk by it. This is why I think the 49ers are a little fraudulent this year. Because they're not going to get Brandon Ayuk back until at least November. So right now, starting the season off, you would think their wide receiver 1 is their first round draft pick from last year, but it's not. Their wide receiver 1 is Jawan Jennings. Now, I love Jawan Jennings, but I believe that he's hit his ceiling in terms of what he can be or produce as an NFL player. I think he has the potential to be a 1,000-yard receiver for sure. 100%. Juwan Jennings can get 1,000 yards. But I think the other guys above him in the division have the potential to be 1,500-yard season guys if things go right. And that's not me hating on Juwan Jennings. Like, I think he's a good player. If he would have hit free agency, I would have been the first guy like, yo, Cardinals, go get this guy. Because I think he's a good player. For the depth rankings, I'm gonna leave the order the same. Because Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, elite duo. It might be the top of the league. It might be the best duo in the league. It has the potential to be for sure. They got Tutu as a solid wide receiver 3 and deep threat. But in terms of the slot receivers in this division, I would say he's in the lower tier, probably the worst slot receiver in this division. And then Jordan Whittinson, he's also a solid 4th option. And then at number 2, I got the Arizona Cardinals. Michael Wilson, who hasn't really shown anything yet in terms of production. But if you watch the Arizona Cardinals, which I know most of you guys do not, the flashes are there. There are wide receiver 1 flashes in Michael Wilson. And I didn't see him drop a pass last year. If the ball touched his hands, 99% of the time, he was going to catch it. It didn't matter what type of body position he was in or anything. And I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. He's a great blocker. He's a good route runner. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was to eclipse the 800-yard mark this season. If he was to eclipse the 900 mark this season. I wouldn't be surprised if he eclipsed the 1K yard mark this season. And then you got Greg Dortch, who was probably one of the top 4 shiftiest players in the NFL. Up there with Zay, Bucky, and probably Bijan Robinson. He's super underrated. And then behind them, we still got the savvy vet, Zay Jones. And then a deep threat, who was the UDFA last year with us, and Xavier Weaver. Now, at number 3, I really actually like the Seahawks wide receiver core. Like, I like it a lot. The only reason that I have it this low is because it's very boom or bust. You know what I'm saying? Especially starting off with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, if you play 17 games, is probably going to give you a nice 800, 900 yard season. But is Cooper Kupp going to give you 17 games? You don't know. It could very well end up being the best duo in the division. But after that, it does take a step back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like MVS, but his hands are consistent. Jake Bobo, he's a fun player, but he's not somebody you really want to be on the field consistently. And I really like Torrey Horton, but I understand that he has a knee injury, so it's going to take time for him to really get back on the field and recover him. But in terms of the future, I think he's going to end up being a steal. I don't really like Ricky White, if I'm being honest with you guys. And then at 4, we got the Niners. I like Pearsall. I think he's a good receiver, but I don't think he'll ever be great. I think he's pretty much a pure slot receiver. He has great hands, and his route running is okay, but I don't think he can consistently get open against man-to-man coverage. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? Then they have DeMarcus Robinson, who's pretty much a wide receiver 4, who's probably going to be started for them to start the season. And then Jordan Watkins, who's a fast guy out of Ole Miss. He's a little shifty, but like, really being objective, this is the worst core in NFC West. Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, DeMarcus Robinson, and Jordan Watkins. Come on. So the final rankings, they stay the same. And let's rank the tight ends. Let's knock it out, man. First, we got one of the GOATs of this tight end shit, man, George Kittle. One of my favorite players of all time. I just hate that he's a 49er. But he's absolutely elite in the pass game. He's elite in the pass game, in the run game. And though I do possibly see some regression coming, out of respect for him being one of my favorite players of all time and his all-pro season last year, I'm still going to give him that number 1 spot. And at 2, we got the successor, Trey McBride. He's elite. Probably the best tight end in the NFL. He would have been regarded that way if Drew Petzing, let me not go that way. But if he would have got into the end zone a little bit more, he would have been regarded as the best tight end in the NFL. He's a hurdling machine, yak monster, catches everything that comes his way, He's elite in the pass game, and he's pretty damn good in the run game. And he's just a guy that when he steps onto the football field, he exudes aura. Like he's just auraful. Now at 3, this is really like a 3A, 3B, because I feel like both of these teams, like starting tight end sucks. Tyler Higbee or Terrence Ferguson, neither are really close or have the potential to be close to the top guys that were previously listed. But I think they're better than Noah Fant, and so I guess I'm gonna give him number 3. And for 4, I got the Seahawks. I'm sure Seahawks fans probably wouldn't argue with it, but maybe they would because Higbee barely played last year. But to be honest, I think it's interchangeable when Higbee is healthy and Noah Fant is healthy, and I think Higbee will be healthy next year. I think Higbee is probably just a little bit better than Noah Fant. And at depth rankings, I got number 1 for the Cardinals, Elijah Higgins, the wide receiver tight end hybrid, can line up at the F wide receiver spot and be a mixed match for most linebackers with his size and athleticism. And then you have Tip Ryman, who's an elite, like seriously, maybe the best run blocking tight end in the NFL as a rookie. Like that tight end core is absolutely stacked. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is. No bias, like legitimately. And then at number 2, I like the Seahawks depth. Like I don't like their starter, but I like their depth. I like Elijah Arroyo. I like Barner. He's shown flashes that he could probably step up and take Noah Fant's starting job if he was given the opportunity to, but he doesn't really get the ball that much. And even though the Rams drafted a tight end with their first pick, I honestly still like Elijah Arroyo more than Jake Ferguson. So, in my opinion, Rams fans, you played yourself. But it's not really all that bad. If we're considering maybe Terrence Ferguson depth, then they have a shot to be like the second best depth in the division with Terrence Ferguson and Hunter Long, and then Tyler Higbee. That's actually a solid tight end group. It's just not elite like depth like the Seahawks or the elite depth of the Cardinals when it comes to the tight end group, in my opinion. And then the Niners have Ross Dwelly, and that's all I'm saying for that. Now for the final rank, I'm switching 1 and 2 due to the abysmal depth and the amount of 13 personnel that the Cardinals actually run. So the ranking is going to go Cards 1, Niners 2, Hawks 3, Rams 4. And for the reason I just said, Cardinals, all 3 tight ends are going to touch the field. So for that position group and that positional ranking, I'm going to put the Cardinals 1. And the Niners are going to still be 2 because George Kittle is George Kittle, and he can be elite. The Hawks, I think Elijah Arroyo is going to contribute. This is a positional group ranking. Remember this. It's a positional group ranking. It's not just the top guy versus the top guy versus the top guy. That's not what we're doing. We're ranking the whole positional group. And then the Rams 4. And now we're going to rank the offensive line. This is what we've all been waiting for. But this is honestly pretty easy. Seattle, you're last. Your O-line was dog last year. But we'll spin back to that. You know what I'm saying? It's not all bad. At 1, we have the Arizona Cardinals. No bias. I swear on your life. Who's watching this? I swear on your life. No bias. You're still alive, right? Maybe. I hope you're still alive. But no, seriously. The thing that people get caught up with the O-line is players. But it's not really about individuals on the O-line. If one individual is the most important on the O-line, it's probably the center. And then it's probably the left tackle. But lucky for the Cardinals have one of the best centers in the NFL. That I don't think a lot of people in the division know that we have one of the best centers in Yall Froholt. Like I said, the second most important position, maybe just because the protection of the QB is the blind side tackle. For most teams, the left tackle. And the Cardinals are pretty solid there as well. They have Paris Johnson, who's in the last 2 years has shaped itself to being a top 10 tackle in the NFL. Now I know what you're saying. Y'all lost Will Hernandez. Now I'm going to tell you why that statement is dumb. Because we lost Will Hernandez in week 4, and we still finished the season with a top 10 offensive line last year. We bring back Evan Brown, who was very solid for for us last year, and we expect the development of Isaiah Adams to only get better, who played very good football down the stretch of the last season. But in terms of a group, the Cardinals already had the best offensive line in the division last year, and they're basically running it back with the same exact offensive line. But like, okay, at second, we're going with the Rams. You know, the Rams have a very good center as well, with Bo Limmer, a really solid top 10 left tackle, and Alaric Jackson is very similar, and they have good guards as well, Steve Avila. And in terms of starters, they might actually be the first in the division. But I'm not doing any depth rankings for the O-line, because the O-line is such a interchangeable spot. You feel me? All these guys are most likely going to play for the most part, because somebody's going to get injured. That's just how the O-line is. So for no depth rankings, and I think that their depth is so ass that they have to be second. Now in third, we got the Niners. Trent Williams, a top 5 left tackle. Drake Grindle is actually a solid center. Colt McKivitz is a really solid right tackle, and I like Dominic Puny. And they actually were pretty good in terms of pass protection last year. A lot of the sacks that Brock Purdy took was because he held on to the ball last year. But it comes down to one thing. Trent Williams is super old, and Trent Williams will probably most likely not play 17 games next season. And what happens when Trent Williams goes down? You now have to rely on Andre Dillard. The depth behind the Niners starters it just is abysmal. They lost Jalen Moore to free agency. They lost Aaron Banks. Like, that's probably their 2 best depth pieces, and they lost both of them free agency, and they didn't draft anybody. Like, if their starters get hurt, they're fucked. They are fucked. And I know it was harsh at the Seahawks at the beginning, but like, in terms of like what the Seahawks are building, like, they're actually building something super sustainable. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks actually had the best offensive line in the division this year, just because I think their oldest offensive lineman, I'm pretty sure, is Charles Cross, and he's 27 years old. I think the future can be bright for the Seahawks offensive line. They just drafted Greg Zabel. They have Charles Cross. They have Abraham Lucas. Obviously, they have Christian Haynes, who they drafted last year. Olu Oluwatimi. Like, they're building something. They're building something there. They are building something for sure. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it in terms of the rankings for each positional group. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add up all the cumulative. We're gonna add up the points together. I tried to say that big ass word and I messed it up completely. And we're just gonna rank them by who's the best and who's the worst. And coming in at first place, we have the Arizona Cardinals, squeaking by barely past the Rams with 17 points. The Rams come in second with 15 points, and they got pulled down heavily by their tight end core. The Niners with 8 and the Seahawks with 7. So yeah, this is pretty much how I see it. I don't buy the hype with the Niners this year, and I think that they will take a step back, despite the fact that they have the offensive genius of Kyle Shanahan. And I think the Cardinals and the Rams will pretty much be neck to neck in terms of offensively. The next video will be defense, and that should be fun. You know, that will probably be a little bit better for you guys, for you Niners fans. You know, you guys won't come in last as often, you know. So yeah, that's the next video. I'll try to get it out probably sometime during next week. But in terms of people that watch this for Cardinals content, I'm gonna try to post another video this week. I don't know what it's gonna be about yet, but yeah, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, go follow my other channel, my main channel. If you like Twitch, go follow my Twitch. It's my Instagram. And yeah, bro, I hope you guys have a great day. Yeah, y'all have a great day, man.